Thank you so much, Ian. Yes, so Ian and I, by the way, were in the same primary school many years ago. So you can ask him about our days back then. So thank you for this opportunity. My name is Titus Gateri. I am the tech lead, cybersecurity architect, whatever you want to call me. Fiona back there calls me her KYM, right? And I work with the two Fionas at the back within the Palo Alto Networks region here in East Africa. So today I'll be trying to guide you guys. Today we've all heard about the threats and everything, but how do we shift that, right? How do we get control back? But it seems like there's a lot going on, and it's basically the wild, wild west out there, right? So how do we actually get control back into our own hands and put things back into control, into our own control, right? Now, this is the reality of the situation, right? I'm assuming that all of us here are the good guys. True? Right? And the reality is we are losing the battle because there's so much we have to deal with that comes at us from a phishing perspective that leads to credential theft, that leads to ransomware, malware. We've spoken about remote work and working from home and how that has introduced new challenges, right? So we have got all these things we need to juggle and try to make work. And at the same time, what's happening is our adversaries are evolving much faster than we are, right? So this is the Cloud and Security Summit. So we're here debating, is cloud good, is cloud bad? Should we go to cloud, should we not go to cloud? Our adversaries don't have these debates. As we here waste time and try to deliberate on this, our adversaries are already leveraging the same tools we should be leveraging, but they're using these tools to exploit us. Yesterday there was a discussion about regulators as well, right? Between Kotonya, I think Jerem, and someone else in the banking industry talking about how the regulators are also coming in, and the question now becomes, are the regulators helping us or are they slowing us down? Right? But do our adversaries have that same challenge? Nobody regulates them. And the fact is, since they don't have all these challenges and red tape, right, it becomes very easy for them to evolve and move forward. That's why we, as the good guys, in most cases, are on our back foot. And all this red tape and all this compliance and regulations and policies and audits has basically led to an environment which we work in that looks like a jungle. Right? You need to navigate this jungle. And as you try and navigate this jungle, due to all the red tape, as I said earlier, all this compliance and audit issues we've got to deal with, it's led to an environment where the enemy now lives amongst us. Right? But the thing is, do we, as the good guys, know the enemy is living amongst us? If I can have the slide back on, please. Right? And do we have the visibility? Do we have the time? Do we have the resources? Do we have the capability to detect that the enemy is right underneath our noses? In most cases, we don't. Right? So we actually need to rethink how we approach cybersecurity. And what do we need to do to change the perspective? And to do this, we need to re-engineer our security tools to be able to do at least 3 key things for now. The very first one is prevent against what we've never seen before. What we've had all through all this conference known as the 0 day. Right? Number 2, as we've also heard from guys, the likes of Gartner, is the fact that I think from now going forward, a lot of the breaches will be due to what? Misconfigurations. Not because you have the wrong tool, but you may have the right tool, but it's been set up wrongly. Okay? And then the third and most important piece here is we know the fact that we can never have 100% prevention. And this goes back to what Said said earlier. No matter what tools you have, you will have a breach at some point in time. But how do you quickly detect something has gone wrong? And more importantly, as Said said, what does the R stand for? Respond or remediate, right? So these are the capabilities we need to have to be able to transform our cybersecurity posture from being a reactive platform to something that is proactive. So how do we as Palo Alto Networks leverage AI and machine learning at a cloud scale? And what we're trying to do here is change a narrative that has been accepted in the industry. And that narrative is this, that there needs to be someone amongst us who must pay the price for all of us to learn from their mistake. And that someone is usually called patient zero. Right? Somebody must get compromised, somebody must get breached, and everybody else learns from that. But we are changing that right now. Right? And the way we are doing this is introducing AI and machine learning into the platforms that we have. Palo Alto Networks, as you all know, is obviously well known for our next generation firewall platforms. As you may know, we introduced the very first NGFW in the world back in 2007. And we have continued to innovate from 2007 to where we are today, 2022. And the innovations I'm about to share with you right now are those that we just introduced within the last couple of months, actually. So the very first one is real-time malware prevention. So the way the industry today addresses malware prevention is through what's known as a sandbox. Right? So your file must be sent to a sandbox somewhere, and then it's analyzed, and then eventually you get the verdict back. And if you have a good platform, it takes about 5 to 30 minutes for you to get the verdict back. But how much time does it take for an attacker to steal money from your organization? Remember, they're leveraging tools like cloud, they're leveraging automation, they're leveraging scripts. Having seen a lot of these incidents locally, it takes a couple of minutes. Once a script is initiated, to the time the money is stolen out, by the time you actually realize something has happened, it's too late. Right? So what we've done with our machine learning platforms is actually brought that sandbox analysis through machine learning models into the platform itself. What that means is we're able to actually analyze unknown threats in 0 time. Right? The second thing is also around URLs. We've all spoken about things like phishing. You click on a link and your credentials get stolen out. Now, the way the traditional security providers address this is having a database of bad URLs. But again, that is very reactive, because for you to have a database of bad URLs, that URL must have been seen somewhere before for it to be updated on your database. So what happens if it's a new URL that you've never seen before? What happens if it is a URL which has a one-click use, which expires as soon as the first person clicks on it? How do you prevent that? How do you prevent a situation where the attacker prevents web crawlers from going on to or crawling on their website and then updating their signatures? You can't prevent that, right? So we leverage ML to overcome all of these challenges and block phishing and sophisticated attacks that rely on URL links, again, in real time, right? The third one for me, I think, is the most important one from my perspective, is DNS security. Now, if I may ask, how many people inspect their DNS traffic? One. And if you put your hand up, I'll ask you how, so just be ready to answer. Okay? Yeah, I know. I used to sell that product as well. Right. But anyway, DNS is a very interesting one. And it's interesting because of two things. One, almost nobody inspects their DNS traffic. It's assumed as soon as you get onto your firewall or your network, you open port 53 on UDP, configure your DNS forwarder to be what? Google or whatever it is you want to use, 4.2.2.2, whatever it is you use, right? And that is it. And you're good to go. That's the first thing. The second thing that the attackers also know is today you cannot turn off DNS within your organization. You turn off DNS, you've turned off the organization. If it's a bank, if it's an airline, if it's the government, turn off DNS, you've basically shut down the organization and seized all operations. And the attackers know that as well. So they know that you're not inspecting DNS. They know DNS is critical for you. So what have they done? They've exploited the protocol through things like what we call command and control traffic. Right? DNS can be used by the attackers to control the malware within your environment through DNS. Right? DNS can also be exploited to steal, what we call exfiltrate and infiltrate data in and out of your environment. Right? So by simply turning on or opening up port 53 on your network, without knowing what you're also doing, is allowing command and control traffic and so on and so forth. And the reality is this, and I'll make a bold statement here. I can guarantee almost everybody in this room, 99% of the people in this room, have DNS, malicious DNS traffic going on within their environment. And you can hold me accountable for that. But do you even know? And the reason why we know this is not a lot, all of the customers who we've actually engaged with, 100% of them, we've actually found malicious DNS traffic within their environments. So are you aware? And what are you doing about it? Right? And if you want to do something about it, please feel free to reach out to me and the rest of the Palo Alto Networks team, and we'll be able to help you. Right? I'll jump quickly over advanced threat prevention for unknown command and control traffic, but also AI ops. And AI ops stands for artificial intelligence for IT operations. IT ops struggle, and security ops teams struggle. Right? So how do we leverage all this data that is being generated from our network to basically better, number one, manage the health of our platform, two, also make policy recommendations. Right? As Gartner said, a lot of the issues we have will be due to policy configuration. So now what we're able to do with AI ops is ensure the device is healthy, is ensure the device is running as per what we, as Palo Alto Networks, recommend to be the best practice. So we remove the guesswork from what you have to do as an IT operations team. And then finally, how do we build or integrate AI into security operations as well? As we all know, security, first of all, begins with visibility. You can't protect yourself from what you cannot see. And that's what the previous tools do for you. They turn on the lights, things like DNS. They show you what is happening within your environment. Next, once you have the visibility, the next thing you, of course, have to do is to prevent as much as you can. And the way we do this, which is, again, an industry leading and an industry differentiator, is we do not rely on signatures for our endpoint protection. Right? Instead, we rely on what's known as the exploit technique. That means even if we have a zero-day vulnerability, we'll still be able to protect it. Second, we leverage data. Right? Everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, happens on the network. When I'm transacting with my Visa card in an ATM somewhere, that transaction's on the network. When an attacker hacks into the bank, that transaction's on the network. But unfortunately, the networks today are not intelligent enough to be able to do something. So they see it, but what do they do? They do nothing. So we're able to ingest this data and then run our AI and machine learning algorithms and then be able to detect what we may not be able to prevent. And then finally, we were talking about this earlier on, we're able to automate. And with automation, it does not just stop at automating particular tasks. We need to close this loop. And this is why we have continuous learning, continuous detection, continuous prevention. And this is where the SOC needs to be as a next generation company. A SOC should not be a static platform that just receives alerts. A SOC needs to be a security intelligence center that is proactively offering security services to protect your organization. And this is what we do with our Cortex XDR and Cortex XOR platforms. Okay? And I'm told time's up. So thank you once again. And myself, Saeed, Fiona, we are all here in case you want to reach out to us. And again, thank you for the opportunity to share this with you.